All right, so we're getting ready to speak with Gary Griffith, former Commissioner of the TPS, Police, and of course, former Minister of National Security. And of course, we are dealing with the topic beneath the surface of the radar, maintaining safety and situational awareness. The U.S. radar is on the island. All right, and so okay, good morning and welcome, Mr. Gary Griffith.
Hi, good morning.
Very good. Let me just, given that you're Minister of National Security, let's deal with this whole question of immigration and the role that they play. The training or retraining that is needed. We had a situation where a young lady coming into this country had, well, she's deaf, as was said, and she was treated in a particular way by an immigration officer. Just an overview as to what is the job spec, basically, of an immigration officer and how they treat with people that are differently abled. Take it from there.
Well, it's a general concept that we've had of issues involving all different arms of the protective services in Trinidad and Tobago, whether it's the Army, Coast Guard, Customs, Immigration, and definitely the police service. It has to do with customer service training. It has to do with public relations. So it is that in particular, we have seen a big issue where that line of the most dangerous thing is to give an ignorant person authority, because sometimes it gets to their head, they get very arrogant, and that is why when you see the difference in other countries, when you see the way that they speak to you, how they appreciate that they realize that they root for you. And it took me a year and a half to transform the police service with that. Many persons, they despise our police service pre-2018. That's why public trust was less than 10%. Police officers, I'm never see a driver's permit. And with that attitude and that arrogance, police officers, many of them thought that is how they were supposed to operate. And by transforming that mindset through powerful customer service training, I got the guidance from the NYPD to show how it is you could get the public to buy in. That started causing the transformation. Unfortunately, that training has stopped, and now we're starting to see that type of arrogance slipping back in. And it's the same thing with immigration, customs, sometimes with customs officers. Even I have spoken to the Minister of Transport. This is really we still have this backward situation of pulling a slip of paper. You have to pull it out, give it to a customs officer. He's looking at it. There's nothing that he could see there that could justify him stating, well, look, let me check your suitcase. That is why no other countries don't use it anymore. And he will see it where you're from, where you're going, what you have inside there, who you went with, how much money you spent. Things that have no relevance at all, but it's to give this mindset, I big and tough, and I am in charge of you now. Mm-hmm. And the immigration, sometimes they have the same attitude. Mm-hmm. Those things affect a country, it affects the image of a country. So it all has to do with customer service training, public relations. Police officers themselves, they believe that they could have done that, because when you write to the PC and nothing happens, you're right to the relevant police officer to report the officer. Nothing will happen. I know police officers pointed a gun, and a soldier pointed a gun to the head of a young man in Maracas, and for a year and a half, the police have been stalling the investigation because it's one of theirs. So I know these things operate. Hopefully, this year would have set a tone for all the rest of the persons in immigration, customs, the police officers. Start realizing that you could be exposed in this era of technology with your phones and so forth. You record the individuals, they will realize I could be embarrassed and I'll be forced to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's segue now into the presence of the radar in Tobago. And this is maintaining safety and situational awareness. The U.S. radar on the island serves as a critical tool for maintaining safety and situational awareness. Is that accurate? Is that the truth? This came into Tobago at the dead of night. The Chief Secretary woke up learning about this by social media and so on. We further learned that he does not have to be informed, but just from a good relations standpoint, shouldn't the Chief Secretary be aware that this was going to be established in Tobago?
I just see what common sense. It's common sense perspective. And the radar, I can assure all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, that radar is critical. I welcome it. It is something that is going to be of value. I will explain later on. The problem has continued to exist with this government. The government is doing the right thing. They're going in the right direction. I welcome the things that they are doing. The problem exists is how it is being implemented, how the communication system. And it goes again where you'll see Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't know the difference between a water gun and a Glock, but he's littered around him with national security advisors with military experience. Kamala Prasad had a national security advisor in her first tour of duty. Now, in this rodeo, forget about Gary Griffith. She has people such as General Carl Alfonso, General John Sandy, who were her ministers, who have military experience. She has nobody like that around her. So unfortunately, the politicians around her, their only concept, like for example, a quick example, a general turns up, instead of speaking military terms like for like, your first thing a politician will tell PM, you know what, like go and buy a doubles and take a photo of, because that is all they see, the political spin. So a general comes to deal with things that we can speak of so many things to assist Trinidad and Tobago. Your thing is to go and buy a double so you will get a photo of. And the same thing happened with the radar. So somebody foolishly decided to give the Prime Minister the perception, well, it's a secret thing and we can't tell anybody about it. Total nonsense, because there's a new thing now with this government that everything is national security standing orders 27, we cannot tell the country. That is not true. That is not how it works. We could go back to recently when they asked the Minister of Defense how many vehicles is in the Defense Force. He says, I can't tell you that for national security. You could go on Google and type how many submarines the United States have, how many airship carriers China has. Those things are not secret. So to state how many SUVs and Sentras the Defense Force has will destroy national security. So the same thing happened here. The radar is not a covert equipment, it is overt. So from day one, the taxi driver, the customs officer, the person working on the port, in the airport, will know about it. So just somebody foolishly told her, PM, if we tell the chief secretary in Tobago, it could spread and the criminals will know about it. As soon as the radar is set up, everybody will know about it. It is like saying you're bringing in an OPV, but they didn't tell anyone for national security purposes. Mm-hmm. So things that are overt, an OPV, a blimp, a radar, there's nothing to hide. Patrick Manning, 2 years before the radar turned up, the 360-degree radar, everyone knew. So she was badly advised. That is all it was. And then to say that he didn't need to know, of course he needed to know, because there's nothing to hide. When it is you try to do that, you give the impression to people that you're hiding something, you're doing the wrong thing, it's being used for the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have
knowledge of trading national security.
All right, so we missed a little bit of what you said there. Just finish what you were saying, because we had a little...
What I was saying is that she's being badly advised because there's no one around her that has that type of language in national security to have explained to her, telling the chief secretary that you're bringing a radar and this is the reason for the radar, is not going to affect national security. Every single thing you do, how is this going to, is he going to tell the criminal? And even if the criminals knew about it, as soon as the radar was set up, everyone would have known. It's not to say, the radar is something that for 2 weeks the radar would have been operational and criminals would not have known, so we could have had clandestine covert operations. No, from day one, as soon as it is set up, everyone would have known. So to say that we couldn't tell anyone because we didn't want to tip off the criminals, this is not some sort of sensitive equipment that can intercept phones that we don't want criminals to know we brought into the country. This is a radar, it's overt. So it was bad advice by stating that you didn't want to tip off the criminals, but this is what happens when civilians who have no training in national security advise the Prime Minister. Remember, right now she has a Minister of Defense who never even held a firearm. He said he was every Boy Scouts. He was an attorney, a good one at that, good guy. Then you have a Minister of Homeland Security who was a junior officer in charge of 20 persons. Now he's in charge of 20,000. So, and he has no training or knowledge or experience in military, in law enforcement at a senior level, or in politics. So she has no one around her to give her guidance. In these trying times, the Prime Minister must have a retired chief of staff working to have powerful senior military officers. Forget Gary Griffith. I am good. There are so many others, as I said, Carl Alfonso, John Sandy, Admiral Kelshall, Eddie Dillon, Brigadier Ken Maraj, Philip Spencer. There are so many of them who could guide her. And she doesn't have to take the advice, but at least she is going to get the proper advice and she can decide what to do with it. She's not getting any advice from anybody with national security or military experience.
Very good. All right. This radar, it helps in detecting and tracking potential threats, such as missiles, and providing critical information on any or for any other threatening devices that may be launched. And of course, it deals or it speaks, this particular military radar has those capabilities. Why would it be planted in Tobago? Why is it strategically, and you would tell me from a military background, is that strategically placed given the tensions between Trinidad, Venezuela, and the United States?
Well, remember, and again, this was based on bad communication. First, the Prime Minister said she didn't know about it. Then she said the Americans were here to help build the airport. Then she said she couldn't tell the country because it was a national security concern. And then she said she asked for it. So I think we have reached the point of the factual thing is that she made the request. And it is something that I have asked for years as a Minister of National Security and Commissioner of Police. And I'll tell you why. Venezuela have been the only country that have been hostile towards Trinidad and Tobago in our territorial waters. The Guardia National have invaded our waters constantly. They have attacked our fishermen, seized their nets, their catch, their vessels. Recently, Venezuela have declared our Prime Minister persona non grata. They accused her of being a drunkard. They said that they are not working with us in the energy sector. They have threatened us because we decided to have joint exercises with our international allies who have been doing for decades. They then said that we are harboring terrorists. They said that we are also involved in being used as a launching pad to attack Venezuela, and they will invade any country that does that. They basically threw the shot across the bow. They drew first blood, and they virtually said that they intend to invade Trinidad and Tobago. They've done the same with Guyana. So you know the hostility and the arrogance of the Venezuelan hierarchy. It is the right of Trinidad and Tobago to prepare. And let me be very blunt about this. I want to give the assurance to citizens in Tobago and in Trinidad. There is absolutely no way, once the United States is in Trinidad, is in the territorial waters of the Southern Caribbean, Venezuela will ever touch Trinidad and Tobago. I think that is what the government is missing. They are not letting the country be aware to take away that fear. It cannot happen because Venezuela are fully aware. If they throw a big stone in our direction, it's going to be international upheaval to have that Maduro removed. So it is not going to happen. So everybody needs to stay calm and understand that is not a threat. However, if the United States ever decides to pull out, what do we have? Let me explain. Venezuela has the type of missiles, and if they decide to launch 50 missiles, within 5 minutes, those missiles can hit every army camp, every Coast Guard installation, every major city, our ports, our airports, our energy sector that could cause fires for months. Trinidad and Tobago could be destroyed, and we will catch ourselves for decades. We do not have a security mechanism to intercept such type of missiles. And I'm not saying that it will ever happen, but we cannot be living our life as we go into the second quarter of the 21st century of saying, well, let me not put up a wall and security cameras and buy a firearm, because if I do that, criminals will feel I have something to hide, so now they will come after me. So that's what some people say. Leave out the radar, let's stay defenseless so that Venezuela will not want to attack us. It doesn't work that way. Right. We must be prepared in the eventuality one day a madman will decide to say, press that button on Trinidad and Tobago. All right. The type of radar is the first step towards making sure we can have something known as surface-to-air missiles to intercept anything that comes our way.
All right, so we are told, and given all that you said, we are told that it's a temporary radar. You mentioned earlier that we do have radars that are not military per se. This military US radar is there for a temporary time to monitor possibly launch of missiles. All right, so let's say that America leaves Venezuela, they pull out all their boats and the standoff that they have in the ocean there, and they leave. Do you see, well, you just outlined the possibility that Venezuela can attack, but we have to ask, what are they attacking us for? Is it because of the stance that Trinidad has taken against them, because that's how they view it? So let's speak to that. This temporary presence that was told to us, let's say that they leave. What is there to detect? Or are we going to ask them to have it remain permanently? You said that we need it. Let me bring that into perspective for us to be clear as to what really is the mission here. Why is it there? How long is it there for? And are we going to be left open after they've gone?
Yeah, definitely. And that is the point. The United States will not be here forever. And if it is hundreds of millions of dollars per month to have these 15,000 troops in the Southern Caribbean. if and when they have accomplished their mission. Some people are stating it is a bluff, they are grand charging, they're trying to pull Maduro out, whatever it is. When the elephants fight, the Trinidad and Tobago grass must not be trampled. So once the United States remains, Trinidad and Tobago citizens can feel assured, stop worrying that there's going to be any hostility in our waters. That it will never happen. That's one. Two, we have to look at the next step. If this ends and Maduro say he remains and the United States pulls out, we are now defenseless. Yes, there have been some mistakes made by certain persons. I think the dumbest comment made in the history of politics in Trinidad and Tobago is a government minister stating that because we have more Indians than anybody else in Trinidad and Tobago, the Indian government will nuke Venezuela. Those type of things can cause hostility. And you have to understand, when you select people like that to be in a government, you can virtually cause your government to collapse or your country to be attacked by another country. You have to be very careful with people you select in government. It was the dumbest comment ever made by anyone. And those are the things that will resonate. If I'm a country and a government minister says, we want to nuke you, I will take it personally. If I am very radical or militant, I will probably attack you because you're making threats to me. So we have to be careful. Yes, comments have been made, killing them violently and so forth. So maybe we never went in the right direction initially. If that is what triggered the hostility, we don't know. But right now, as it stands, we are not on good terms with Venezuela, as much as we are making all of these comments now. Maduro kept poking the bear. He kept poking the United States. And when the United States turned up here, as a typical bully, he turned to Trinidad and Tobago to threaten Trinidad and Tobago. That's what bullies do. If the United States leaves, Trinidad and Tobago must put ourselves in some defensive mechanism to prepare ourselves for the eventuality of 15 missiles that can totally devastate our country. And it's not to make people panic, but it's to have us properly prepared.
So we are thinking, we are all optimistic that it will end peacefully. But what if America is to invade Venezuela? What would be the repercussions for Trinidad and Tobago? What is going to be, in your view, being an expert in military and so on, what would be the repercussions? What will we face with in Trinidad and Tobago?
And again, this shows again why the Prime Minister needs military advice around her. In times like this, whether it was Winston Churchill, whether it's Donald Trump, you need military people to think military. She's not. So again, it'll be to buy a doubles and do a photo op. And what is going to happen next is that if and when this happens, if the United States do that, it is going Trinidad and Tobago, we are going to be bombarded by about 500,000 Venezuelans trying to enter Trinidad and Tobago. That again is going to destroy our economy. You're not going to cause 500,000 at least coming in here. They will need food, they will need housing, they will need education, clothing. It can turn to crime if they're unemployed. It can destroy our country. We can end up like Haiti. We do not have the defense capabilities to prevent this mass migration between the mainland and Trinidad and Tobago, because for the last 10 years, the last government, their incompetence was overwhelming. As the Minister of National Security, I acquired 12 diamond vessels that could have done exactly what the 3 OPPs could have done at 1.2 billion less. They refused to utilize those vessels. The Chinese vessel, the 100-meter vessel, was to ensure that we can have mass recruitment for Coast Guard, so manpower strength could equate with naval asset acquisition. All of these things were shut down. So Coast Guard they didn't have any operational vessel. The Air Guard has no helicopters. They have no aircraft. We have no drones. We are defenseless. What again we need to do is what I did as minister. The U.S. wanted to have us send a representative to Florida in their SOCOM. I said, okay, what am I getting? They were giving me 2 destroyers at no cost. That's what we need to start talking to the United States about. We need to talk the language. Listen, you want to put a radar here temporarily? We want to make sure, can you provide us with vessels? Can you provide us with trade technology? We need protection of our borders if you decide to invade Venezuela, because we will not have the capability to withstand hundreds of thousands of persons leaving Venezuela and trying to storm Trinidad into Trinidad in the southwestern peninsula. That is going to be our main concern. Venezuela is not going to fire shots in Trinidad because of what the United States is doing to Venezuela.
You are saying this to me. This needs to be spoken to the Prime Minister and Donald Trump to avoid a situation that can put us, and you are saying it, I have said it here, we are going to be overwhelmed by refugees of war. They are going to come here and we can't turn them back. You just said we are going to become like Haiti. Are the leaders seeing that? Is the Prime Minister aware that that's the possible outcome?
She's not. No, she's not, because of the same thing I spoke about. There's nobody even that was in the Boy Scouts or the Girl Guides in her cabinet or in her government. They know nothing about this type of situation. Very few citizens. My trainer at Sandhurst prepared me for that. Same as Carl Alfonso, John Sandy, Eddie Dillon, Ansel Antoine, Ian Pritchard, Admiral Kelshall, Commodore Franklin. These individuals, and they went further than me. I left as a captain to go into politics, as crazy as that was. I was more dangerous than being in the army. They know they went to the same war college as the same general who came to eat doubles with them, with the prime minister. She needs people like that. She needs to have a war room. She needs to have a retired joint chief of staff around her to guide her about these things. The type of equipment we need, the type of technology required. And there are also positives that I have not mentioned that she doesn't know about. When you have 15,000 troops, somebody in the military is supposed to say, Prime Minister, with this can enhance our economy. We can now tell the US, if you all are here for the next year, we can provide cabbage, lettuce, tomatoes. We can provide all the fruits and the items you require for your 15,000 troops. And you triple the price, it's US dollars. This is going to boost our agricultural industry. 15,000 mean at least 1,000 will be on shore leave every single day. Multiply that by 500 US, that's 1.5 million in military tourism injected into the economy. It will assist in hotels, taxis, bars, entertainment. So there's a value to the US being here without a war taking place. This is the type of psychological training that is supposed to be given to the Prime Minister to win hearts and minds of the country. Right now, the country is fearful, they are mortified, they believe that the government, we have sold out, we have lost our sovereignty, we are hiding things, and it's because of bad communication and bad advice being given to her, instead of, because she's making the right decisions. How it is being implemented and how it is being pushed forward to the public is where the problem lies.
Mr. Griffith, all right. Is there an opportunity for an olive branch at this time?
Definitely, yeah.
Right. So, right. There are two olive branches that is needed here. One to calm the waters between Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, and Trinidad, and the approach, or somebody, I don't know, to reach out to Donald Trump to change his mindset. Because obviously this presence is not about narco trafficking. It's more than that. So let's speak to that. How do we extend these there's two olive branches, one to Trinidad and one to the United States, and so on. What do we need to do in that regard?
Well, again, if she had senior military officers, which are rather than to tell her go buy Captain Doubles to buy doubles to do a photo op, somebody would have advised her, you need to tell General Kane, General, we are willing to assist the United States. We are not going to be part of the war if you all decide to do that. But Trinidad and Tobago can become collateral damage unless we could get the assurance that you will support us. How are you going to prevent 500,000 from entering the country? That is the type of language should be given to the United States. Trinidad and Tobago saying, yes, we're singing Kumbaya, we're letting you come, we're letting you train with us. There's going to be some repercussion to it. And we need to, the United States needs to understand the damage that could be done to Trinidad and Tobago, which they don't want. The United States wants Trinidad and Tobago to be a strong country and an ally to them. If Trinidad and Tobago becomes like Haiti, it's not going to be of value to the United States. This is the type of language she does not have around her to guide the United States. How are you going to give us the assurance that if this happens, you do what you intend to do, Trinidad and Tobago will not be affected by the mass migration? That is the type of language no politician in her government would be able to do, and therein lies the problem. As it pertains to the United States, that's way above our pecking order, in that food chain. We can't advise President Trump. What we can do, however, is to be able to continue to say that if you decide to leave, where are we going to be? What are you going to provide for us to ensure that we are properly protected? As it pertains to dialogue, the dialogue is not just about Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. It has to do with CARICOM. CARICOM has become fragmented because of this situation. And my take on it personally, many CARICOM leaders, I refer to them as cowards. And it starts with the last prime minister of this country. Look at what is happening in Haiti. You have a man called Barbecue. I would have barbecued him or fried him or curried him by now. We have 20,000 troops in CARICOM. And not one CARICOM leader stepped up to say, let us assemble our troops together to get into Haiti to fry Barbecue and curry this barbecue criminal. You have criminals running a Caribbean island, and everybody that's in CARICOM has stayed silent. CARICOM for far too long. When your neighbor's house is on fire, you wet yours. Guyana has been threatened and even invaded by Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago has been threatened by Venezuela. And other CARICOM countries have the audacity to say, well, you all need to calm down and we need to not to support what the US is doing. They are not being affected. So there must be dialogue, not just with Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela, but throughout CARICOM. My final point on that is that I did that as Minister of National Security. I immediately called a meeting with the Defense Minister of Venezuela. I said, I have dormant vessels coming. We will take out your vessels if you enter our waters and attack our fishermen. The Defense Minister said, what do you recommend? We signed a bilateral agreement, giving the assurance that this will stop. Their Defense Minister came to Trinidad with his generals. Everything worked for several years. The Guardian National stopped invading Trinidad and Tobago waters. After that, the PNM did not enforce that bilateral agreement. So communication and dialogue can play a very big part towards preventing a shot being fired.
Excellent. Mr. Griffith, you spoke, and I wish you would be one of the mediators to treat with bringing peace and settling this thing peacefully. All right, thank you. Merry Christmas to you and your family. All the best to you, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Same to you.